Hey there, and welcome to Exponential Next Series, A Called Generation. In this series, we are diving into the raw and real process of uncovering your calling, practically for young adults on the journey of fulfilling life's purpose. I'm Carrie Williams. If you don't know me, I'm the Executive Director of Exponential Next, part of Exponential. If you don't know who Exponential is, I encourage you to check us out. We do all kinds of things. We're probably most known for our conferences where it's like a big giant family reunion, which is, I think, probably the first time this guy that's on the today's episode and I met in person. Um, Today, I'm really excited to have a friend of mine, and I would consider him a champion. I don't even like that word, but I'm going to use it. A champion of youngish people. Um, Brad Lomenick is with us today. He's a leadership consultant, a speaker, an author, and the founder of BLINC. And he's going to tell you more about himself. And one thing I want to make sure, Brad, as we jump in talking about who you are, make sure you tell our folks about your podcast because I absolutely love it and think everybody should be tuning into that. So, welcome,
Let's
Brad.
go. Welcome.
Oh,
Welcome to you. Thanks for having me on.
yeah.
I'm excited about this. We did meet at Exponential, I think, for the first time because you were holding court with all of your big dog friends. And I was just sort of in line to get time with Carrie Williams at Exponential. I was just trying to get into the slipstream of Carrie.
Oh, brother.
Yes, but
I
H3
don't remember
Leadership.
it like that, but keep going.
Yeah, H3 Leadership Podcast is my podcast. And listen, back in the day, we were doing the Catalyst podcast, which some people might remember, but we got in the podcast game in 2005. I've been in this podcast world for 20 years. I'm old, and we were like number one on iTunes because nobody else was on.
You're not that old. I'm just gonna say that. Let's
Well,
keep going.
I'm seasoned. How about that?
There you
I'm
go. That's
seasoned.
better.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's good. Brad, tell everybody a little bit about your history. Like for people who
sure.
don't know Brad,
Yeah.
tell them a little bit about who you are, what you've done, where you come from, and what you're passionate about.
Well, I didn't know if I was going to go into politics or being a pastor, and
Oh,
I
I
ended up
did.
in I ended up in neither of those places. Was going to
Mhm.
go to law school and be a lawyer, and then perhaps go into politics, and got connected to a place called Lost Valley Ranch, which you've been to,
I
Carrie.
have. Yes,
An
thank you for
amazing
that invite.
place. Yes,
Mhm.
amazing place in the mountains of Colorado. And through that, got connected to John Maxwell. And
Mhm.
then the rest was history. In my 20s, I got around the right who. I mean, truly, the who factor for me was John and his team. And then in my mid 20s, were, I started working with John, and then we started doing conferences, of which Catalyst came out of.
Yeah.
And that was really the platform, or the any kind of influence I have today is sort of built on the backbone of what Catalyst was for so many young leaders in America
Mhm.
for a long time, for 20 years. And
Yeah.
so I did that for a decade plus, and then the last 8 to 10 years, I've really stayed in the game of gathering leaders. I just do it a bit more under the radar.
Yep.
And call me a strategic advisor, call me a consultant, call me somebody who comes in and tries to help organizations and leaders not to just be better leaders, but also think through the strategic side of where they're headed. And so I
Mhm.
do that. My little company is basically me, and I advise a lot of different organizations. Try to be a connector in the kingdom, which you and we resonate
Yep.
deeply on that ability to figure out, hey, who do you know that I need to know, and who do I know that you need to know, and how do we make sure we're abundantly minded in connecting friends?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so I would say, Brad, like I know a lot of strategic advisors and consultants.
Yeah,
And
they're everywhere.
they're
They're
everywhere. But
everywhere
what I
these
would
days.
say about you, Brad, is that you do it from this position of wholeheartedly friendship, kingdom building, mission minded. It's just a different approach than what I probably normally see as far as how, you're a friend first. And
Yes.
I think in a world, if anybody has been in kind of Christian vocational world for a minute, you probably can recognize that friends are few and far between sometimes. And when you find them, it's really refreshing when you find people who genuinely just care about you, care about what God has called you to do, care about helping you get there, and very selflessly just, hey, I'm here to help. What can I do? And I would say
Yes.
that that's you. And I appreciate that so much about you, Brad. Um,
And
and
by the way, the exponential, just to backtrack, when exponentials first started, shout out to 2006 or whenever that was,
Mhm.
um, the team came up and we actually basically just gave our playbook at Catalyst. We weren't the experts. We were trying to figure it out, like everybody else. But in the conference space, we just opened up the playbook and said, "Hey, like, come shadow us at the event, and we want to be as available and abundant as we can with what we've learned." And so there's always been for me a real affinity and connection to exponential, just because I feel like in some ways we weren't on the launch team, but to see something else that now, Catalyst kind of went away, but Exponential continues to gather leaders. And so I am pro gather leaders, period.
Yeah,
I don't care
yeah,
if it's my thing or somebody else's thing. I just want to see the kingdom grow and expand and leaders get together and be more strategic in how they advance the kingdom.
yeah. Thank you for that, Brad. And I'd say that without Catalyst in those years of helping others, the formative years, I mean, I really think that you guys set the precedent around like actually investing in leaders. Like, hey, let's make this a real proactive thing that we do in the kingdom, in, like let's not just talk about it, or let the business world be the only ones who are experts in this area. Let's actually step up and do this. And so,
Yeah.
and I've heard stories of back in those days, Brad, something about an RV parking in the Catalyst parking lot, I think, and with the expo sign on it, and
Oh, yeah.
some of the worst marketing things I've ever heard.
Listen,
But also, I'm like, can we bring the RV back? Like,
let's go.
I
Bring the
mean,
RV back.
I'll
I
bring the
think
RV back.
I think there,
Anyway,
yeah, there was people, there was probably a lot of things we tried and failed at, I would guess, in the attempt to create marketing and awareness. But
yeah,
listen, I mean, we truly, Carrie, we were, I think the beauty of Catalyst back in the day, and I think this is helpful and practical for leaders listening, is we were the truest customer of our own product.
mm,
And that gave us not just the ability to create something that we wanted to be part of, but
hmm,
it also allowed us to view it in a way where we could again be so collaborative. And I think sometimes we get into these things and we're not the customer of it. We don't really understand who the customer is. We're trying to fake it till we make it. And
yep,
so, there was a true level of, hey, like, we're just on the journey with our community.
yeah,
And I think that's both a good strategy, but it's also, this, we both know this, it's very in vogue with the next generation.
yeah,
If it
yeah,
feels like something that they're you got your arm around them going, let's do this together.
yes, yeah. We
That
walk
that
alongside one another.
yes.
Yeah, very much so. So that will lead us to a really great pivot in our conversation. So, we're talking about a called generation, and I titled this episode "Such a Time as This," and because I don't know anyone who champions young, Jesus-loving, influential people, connecting with one another and connecting with what God wants them to do on this earth than you. And so I just want to jump into a little bit of conversation around um, what you do, why you do it, and what you're learning. What are you learning that others should be paying attention to? Let's
Sure.
start.
Well, my going to the question of calling, and everybody's got different verbiage
Hmm.
that people use. So don't everybody can put this into their current bucket that makes sense. But for me, the riverbanks on my life, the direction of my life is the statement for me is I connect, gather, and influence influencers. That for me is It gives me a sense of why. It gives me enough room, right? I can run back and forth and, be on an aircraft carrier, on a tugboat, on an inner tube, on a speedboat, on a cruise ship going down the river. And that's really important because so many of us get stuck in wait, this current job is now the ultimate expression of who I am and why I'm here and what I do.
Yep.
And that's a dangerous thing these days. It's because the average 20 something is going to have maybe 20 to 25 different what I'll call seasons of assignment.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are having 5 or 7 in their 20s.
Yeah.
So we've got to help them get right on the riverbanks. But for me, the riverbanks for me are connect, gather, and influence influencers.
Yeah. I
That's
like
the
that.
that's the statement for me. Now, there's a second part of that statement which gives me more clarity. I don't share that the second part of the statement with Rick in 2B on the Delta flight because Rick doesn't really want to hear it right now. But the second part of the statement for me is in order to create kingdom catalyst who will impact and change their world.
Mm.
So for me, that's the why. That is the ultimate sense of why am I connecting leaders? Because I want to see kingdom catalyst raised up, released, who are impacting all the different spheres of culture. And that's clear for me. And I've done it in 5 different seasons.
Hmm.
I did it at a guest ranch. I did it working for John Maxwell. I've done it sort of on my own the last several years. I was part of a little publishing thing for a while. So that for me is clear. And now I really feel a burden to help the next generation get clarity around that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're just going to bounce from thing to thing.
Hmm.
And we're going to look at them, all of us old fogies are going to look at them and go, well, you're disloyal. You're just a jumper.
Hmm.
The reality, though, is that never before have we had the number of options and the ability for somebody to be a free agent
Yeah.
and sort of go, well, I'm going to do this for a year and then I'll go do this for 2 years and then I'll go do this and I'll have 7 side hustles while
Hmm.
I've got a full-time job. And I'm okay with that as long as there's clarity.
Yeah.
Without clarity, we've got a problem because again, now I am so scattered, which creates paralysis.
Hmm.
Options give us choice, but options also can freeze us
Yeah.
because there's so many different things I can do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the truth. Tell me a little bit, like, did you just in those seasons when you were at Lost Valley and met John and kind of moved through all of those different seasons of your life, did you know? Was it as clear as it is now?
Gosh, no.
Talk about that, like, and
Yeah,
and how for you it took I won't say a lifetime because your life's, not even, I mean, we're probably in the halfway.
halftime,
We're in the
halftime.
halfway. Yeah, we're halfway there.
Yeah.
So the first half, it took you the first half, to really along the way clarify that, be able to define it, write it down, like get a tattoo, do the
Yes.
whole thing. I mean, not that you have a
Yes.
tattoo of it, but maybe you should. Um, so what would you know, with your journey and what you learned, what are you then taking back to teach younger people to learn
Great.
that earlier?
Yes. Well, the first thing is don't get so stuck on the one question which we incorrectly put on an 18-year-old, which is what are you going to do and what are you going to major in?
Yep.
That is an unfair question. It's not a bad question. It's an unfair question because 95%, I'm guessing, or more, don't know.
Yeah.
They've got some ideas, they've got some thoughts. Well, my parents did this. I grew up in a ministry environment. I was part of this church, or I really feel like math is, a great thing. So for me, I followed the breadcrumbs of my parents or my dad in terms
Mhm.
of I thought, well, maybe I'll be a coach and a principal. And so I just sort of went into school going, let's keep an open mind, but I'll follow this. Then I quickly sort of, like I said earlier, for me, politics had some kind of connection to it. I think more just because of the leadership side of it.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, maybe I'll go to law school. Here's where the clarity for me came though, is when I got done with school. And as you said, I went to Lost Valley and I got around the right people
Mm.
in my early 20s who were investing in me in terms of who I was becoming.
Mm.
And, being a cowboy or being a part of a guest ranch in Colorado was not the ultimate expression of calling for me. But it gave me all kinds of tools. It gave me enough room and enough margin to start to think about these things. And it also started connecting me to some of the right people. And my advice to 20 somethings today is I said it earlier, get around the right who. The
Yeah.
right who's in your 20s will many times lead you to the what, the where, the why, all the other pieces. But so often we're just only thinking about the why and the what
Hmm.
and the where, and we leave out the who. And so, if you see somebody that you go, man, I just want to learn from them. I want to be around them. I want what they have to permeate in me. Figure out a way to carry their bags or to go intern for them or to, just be in proximity. So that's one thing that's really important. The other one is if give yourself, and I'm speaking this as advice to people who are leading 20 somethings, and if you're a 20 something, give yourself room to say yes to a lot of stuff. If you think that you're only going to find the one yes, that's very, very hard, especially
Yeah.
in the first decade of your career life, let's call it that. So if you have a lot of different things that you can reverse engineer once you've gotten done with the decade in your 20s, and then look back and go, oh, well, this thing felt like maybe the best expression of me. This one didn't at all. I loved that time, but it didn't line up. And those two pieces, give yourself room, give yourself permission to try a lot of things
Yep.
the first quarter and get around the right who. I think that for me, that was looking back, such a huge part of it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, my own personal journey is very similar in the sense of, I mean, it was not clear to me what I wanted to do per se. When I met Jesus, I knew immediately I just wanted to spend my life sharing him with the world and just
Yes.
committed to that. Like, I don't know what that means. And I even remember an old boyfriend's mom asking me, I was in the middle of an internship program and full-time ministry in Bible college, and she was like, "Well, what's your plan B?" And I was like, "What?" It was just not even a, I was like, "What do you mean plan B?" I was like, "Well, when a lawyer goes to school, do they get a plan B and study something else just in case that doesn't work out?" Like
Right.
it was just so foreign to me, but I had no idea what I wanted to do with all of that. And quite truthfully, I mean, that turned into a full lifetime, a full half of a life, just saying yes, along the way of what Jesus would put in front of me. And so I love that you use the word give yourself permission, because I do think that there's, this pressure that is put and applied on young people to figure it all out. And I mean, I'm still figuring it out, and I'm at halftime right here. And so
We
uh,
both are. Yeah.
that's right. And when you're following Jesus, um, you're laying down your life, you're picking up your cross, you're following him where he leads. And so often, it just looks different than anything you could ever explain, anything you could ever plan. And that's okay. It's
Yes.
okay. It's okay. I
And
love
by
that
the
you
way,
gave that
by the
riverbank thing.
yeah, the riverbanks are really
Yeah.
important. By the way, this was clarified for me because a lot of people get confused on, well, isn't my call in life or my purpose or my sense of identity as a follower of Jesus? Shouldn't the answer be to all the questions of your why that, I'm going to love God and enjoy Him forever? I'm going to follow Jesus. Yes, yes. Um, that is one part of the piece of the puzzle, and that's true for all of us, right? So we
Mhm.
all have a substantial responsibility as Jesus loving kingdom people to now live out the gospel. That is the starting point.
Mhm.
What then you have to get clear on is then the vocational expression.
Mhm.
And that's true for everybody. There's intrinsic wiring in all of us that God has given us that's DNA,
Yep.
right? The reason you and I are connectors is because God intrinsically wired us to do that way more than a lot of other people. Now we also have skills and experiences and people and life things that have made us more motivated. But if we don't find those things and get clear about them,
Hmm.
then we can still have a great life that is moving in the right direction, but we won't truly be in the center
Yeah.
of our vocational expression. And that, again, that's what I think is so hard for so many of us as Christians, because we go, well, do I actually have permission to do that much due diligence? The answer is absolutely yes.
Yes. And please,
Please do that.
please do that.
We cannot have a bunch of people who are sitting around going, well, I love God and I want to follow him, but I'm not real sure what I'm good at and I don't really know what I'm passionate about and I just kind of respond to whatever's put in front of me and I haven't done a lot of homework on my own sense of skill sets and
Hmm.
I don't do a lot of asking of other people.
Mm.
Again, that's not a sin issue, but it's a better best issue.
Yeah, that's good.
Better best issue.
That's good. I remember when I was probably 23-ish. The first time that I read Next Generation Leader. Uh,
Yes. Shout out Andy
yeah,
Stanley.
shout out way back. And
Yes.
it was this great tool that ultimately asked me questions about myself to better understand how I was wired. And then it also had this piece in it that you would go to others. So back to the others, the people around you. You would pick 3 or 4 people to do the same questionnaire to answer questions about yourself. And I'll never forget reading through the answers for the first time and discovering the things that other people see in me that I didn't realize were unique to me. I just thought, oh, you don't mean not everybody's good at that? Not everybody does
Right.
that. I thought
Yes.
everybody does that, and then realizing, oh, this is unique to me. And so,
Yes.
yeah, I love that you just hit on that of don't wait for permission or for somebody to, even for somebody to come and provoke you to do those things. Take all the tests, do all the things, ask all
Yes.
the hard questions. If there's an assessment, take it. I know we live in the day and age where we have more assessments than we ever had. I mean, Brad and I right now could Google what kind of Harry Potter house we would be in, and
Fact.
we would know. And so we're not limited on resources to better understand God's wiring for ourselves. It's just a matter of recognizing that's not a prideful thing. That's not a sinful thing. That is a God created you on purpose with a purpose. And so just discover how you're wired. I love that you mentioned your skills. We talk about hard skills, soft skills, personality.
And
Um,
look back at your childhood too.
oh yeah.
Your
Yeah,
childhood is always a great indicator of the things that are true about you in terms of what you navigate towards without
yeah,
anybody putting pressure on you,
that's right.
right? Because
That's
I'm
right.
guessing on the playground or at school, Carrie was probably convening people to do something,
Always.
right?
Always.
And nobody said, okay,
Yeah.
Carrie, this is how you get ahead in third grade.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a strategic thing that you were, somebody was whispering in your ear. The way you get ahead with your third grade teacher is you convene people, but you were just naturally gravitated towards that.
Yeah. That's good.
And then you look at it and go, wait, I thought everybody was like me. No, that is DNA that's in all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I often talk about the P's that help you discover who you are, which are, your passion, your personality, your past, your present, your position.
Oh,
Um, all of those things can help you discover and define like, if you were to sit down and write down like all of these different areas, it will
wait, say
reveal
those again. How many are there? Are
um
there five P's?
passion. There's
Yep.
your passion, your personality, your past, your present, and your position.
Mm.
Um, all of those things I think equal like some indicators of how you're wired and what God's called you to walk out. And Brad, we've been saying this on the series, and so I'm going to just repeat it. I hear so often, even people my age, like, I'm still figuring out what I'm called to, called.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like this thing
Yeah.
that they're
It's this
waiting on.
mystery.
Yeah,
Mystery.
like, and one day when I figure it out, it'll be it. And so I often explain it this that every person on the face of the earth is born with the same purpose. And that purpose is to know God and point people back to him. Like, know God,
Hmm.
make him known.
Yep.
That never changes, no matter if we're walking with Jesus or not. It doesn't change. We still have the same purpose. our calling is the unique way in which we fulfill that purpose in any given season of our lives. And that does shift and change, right? That does. But I love that. I'm going to add in, I'm going to steal from you, Brad, the riverbanks, because then you have if you add in the riverbanks, you can just float down that river and fulfill the call in any season that God's placed you in, but you know where you're going, you know where you're
Yes.
headed, you know what you're made for. And so I love that.
And
So
the challenge is many times, well, figuring out which river do I choose.
that's right.
And then the the challenge as well is for, again, for so many younger leaders, is now which craft am I going down the river on?
Mm,
Because now there's so many crafts where, like my father, my grandfather, 3 generations ago, they had like 3 options.
yeah.
They wanted to figure out, like, am I going to make a difference in life? But the
Hmm.
routes through which they could sort of choose a vocational expression were limited. Nowadays, you can do anything, and everybody's given the advice to all these young leaders, which I think is bad advice. Follow your passion, follow your heart, do whatever you want to do. It's like, no, wait, hold on. That's part of the equation, but it's not the full equation, because it's the American Idol example of, hey, why do you think you're going to be the next American Idol? Well, because I have the gift of inspiring people through song, and then you hear them sing. You're like, wow, right?
Oh, it's so good. Um, yeah, I mean, and I do think passion is important.
It is, no
But
question.
defining what passion means, it's the things that make you come alive. It's the things that you feel like you want to fight for. Um,
Yes.
it's the things that, when you see it on the news or you read it in an article and it stirs something in you that feels like you want to get up and fight on behalf of XYZ.
It's also your past too, Carrie. I mean, a
That's
lot of
right.
us, we find passion through pain because of a story in our journey of growing up in a home that was really challenging, or that you had a sibling who dealt with some kind of addiction. Those many times will give you that runway of passion based on that experience.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's a huge part of the puzzle.
Hmm.
We can't discount that. So I don't know where you put that one in your
Well,
P's.
past is one of those P's.
Yeah.
Your past and your present. Yeah.
But all that has to be part of the equation. And,
Mhm.
of course, God's story is also part of that equation. I would
Yeah.
say too, like, this is one we don't talk about a whole lot, especially in the ministry space. Sustainability,
Yeah.
which translates to,
Yes.
can you actually make money at this? Because I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of
Yeah.
us, we want to pursue something that is probably more of it's an expression, it's a hobby,
Hmm.
hey, I want to be part of this, but it's not necessarily something that is going to create revenue for you to create sustainability. So, man, hopefully you can find a vocational outlet that gives you all these pieces. And this is why so many business leaders, which, we know this is true. Business leaders many times have the economic engine. They're actually probably pretty good at it, but
Hmm.
they have very little passion, and they're
Yeah.
not they're not even sure it's God's story on their life.
Hmm.
Where ministry people a lot of times have just the opposite.
That's right.
they
That's
they
right.
they're like so passionate about it, and
Yeah.
they can't make any money. And
That's right.
and so navigating those different pieces and going, well, if there's 5 different quadrants, can I get 4 out of 5 right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are just living life with 1 out of 5 right at
Yeah.
best. And that,
Yeah.
man, that makes you really stuck. You feel like you're stuck.
Yeah. And we definitely don't want to see people stuck. Like, I want to see people walking in the fullness of God for their lives, for
And
their sake
but
and for the sake of, their neighbors, for the sake of their families, for the sake of their churches, for the sake of whatever businesses they're associated with, for the sake of, just, yeah.
and let me say this too, because you will amen this. I think so many of our friends who are in their 20s, the new expectation is that I will find immediately, like 6 months after college,
Yeah.
I will find the thing that makes me come alive. I will
Yes.
find the job that is now the best expression of my calling and purpose and your language. And all of a sudden, those Venn diagrams will
Hmm.
immediately be like overlapped. And that is not going to happen for most of you,
That's not going to
right?
happen for the majority.
So what do I do then, Brad, Carrie? What
Mhm.
do I do if I'm stuck in this job? Well, you're faithful.
Right.
You're trying to figure out how do you take the season you're in
Hmm.
and do it really well while also doing the due diligence to figure out some of these things.
Yeah,
But you can't discount the season that you currently are in because you're so uncomfortable or you feel like, oh my gosh, this is not the best expression of who I am, and I'm just not going to show up on time anymore. I'm gonna, I'm gonna phone it in. In the kingdom, that's what we call like a bad stewardship
that's
of
right.
the season. So faithfulness is equally important
Yeah.
when it comes to the scorecard you're getting.
Yeah. And I would say with faithfulness, Brad, like roll your sleeves up, do the hard work, even the parts that you don't like, which I mean,
Yes,
I don't know a single person on the face of the earth that has 100% of what they do vocationally that they love. That they're like,
exactly.
yes, 100% of the time,
Yeah,
it's amazing. Now there are, I love my job. I I think I am, like I can't, I would do this and not get paid. You know what I mean?
yes,
But it's work. There is
yeah,
work involved. And I would also say in those seasons, there are things to learn. There's a whole lot that Jesus is probably trying to teach you in those moments where it's not quite the right fit, or maybe it's the right fit for the moment, even though you know it's not the right fit for long term. There are things to be learned. There are things that are to
yes.
be taught to you, sometimes that that you're catching from others, sometimes that are tangible things that you're learning along the ways, that are skills that will come in handy later.
And all those pieces add up. I
That's
mean,
right.
the ability for you, like you're saying, um, when you're in your early in your career, you have to do the hard work. Do not We can't wait on an organization to now coach us or teach us that part of my job here is to work on the skills that I'm going to need like three different seasons from now.
That's right.
And that is what we call intentionality for
Hmm.
a young leader that now gets you elevated quicker, perhaps. Doesn't
Hmm.
always say mean it will, but also like you said, Carrie, you're fine. You're even if somebody says, "Well, Brad, I work for a terrible boss." Great. You're getting actually really good insight into what being a terrible boss is. So now you don't make those same mistakes.
That's right.
And you can also lead up and try to make them better. What
Yeah.
what would happen if you actually made them into a good boss because of you being a good team member?
Yeah.
So that's a different level, a different mindset of how you're faithful to the season you're in,
Hmm.
because all those skills are going to translate. That will all go with you when you look at, and let's just use songwriting because everybody wants to be Brandon Lake now. If you're a young songwriter, worship leader, musician, and I remember meeting Brandon when he was 19,
Mm.
and he walked in the room and he had the same posture that I think he does now, which is he's hungry to learn. He's humble. He walked in and he everybody in the room was now a classroom for him. Now, when he got the opportunity to lead, he was ready, but he
Yeah.
wasn't walking in going, "Hey guys, you know, 10 years from now, I'm going to be a really big deal. So you might want to just go ahead and give me a shot." And
Mm.
I love like the spirit of that now, seeing the other side of it. So again, we can reverse engineer a lot of these stories of the leaders we admire and go, at some point when they were in your 20 something shoes,
Hmm.
they still had the same posture that they walk
Yeah.
in with now.
Yeah. I would say how you show up matters. No matter the season,
Yes.
how you show up matters. Um, yeah. Even when you think no one's watching, that matters the most probably, I would say.
What about, so for you, one of the things I love, Kevin Kelly, who is a savant, started Wire magazine. He's the guy that actually came up with 1,000 True Fans, that idea. But Kevin says when he's now in his 70s, and he says, I keep moving when it comes to vocation and sort of the season he's in. I keep moving to doing only the thing that I can do,
Yeah.
which
Yes.
means he keeps getting further out on the diving board
Yes.
where people look at him and go, I don't even know what you do. And so again, for you, Carrie, like you probably I have the same thing. When I try to explain what I do,
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard because people don't get it. They're like, wait, I can't put you in a box. But I
Yep.
think that's actually a valuable thing because you're actually going out to that place on that diving board where only you can be.
Yeah.
Based on
Yeah.
your skill set, your experience, like all the again, all the P's that you're talking
That's
about.
right. That's right. But it did take a lifetime or half a lifetime
Yes.
to
You
figure out what that was,
you can't figure that out in 3 months after
No,
college.
no, no, you definitely cannot. Um, Tell me, speak predominantly to like the senior leaders tuning in right now, um, and they're, I'm going to switch gears a little bit into church world where
Sure.
so often, I'm part of an organization that wants to see churches multiply and reproduce. The number one thing that I hear from church leaders, network and denomination leaders are that they don't know where to find the planters. They don't know how to find the planters. They know they exist. They know there are people who are called to continue to plant church expressions around the world, and they just don't know, there's a gap there. Um, what would you say to the senior leaders who are looking around going, "Uh-oh, I don't know how to reproduce right now." And and then we have this whole
Yeah.
generations of people who are pick me, just talk to the senior leader and kind of that gap that exists.
Yeah. Well, they're hanging out somewhere.
That's right.
I mean, they're hanging out at Exponential. Like, so first thing is you need to be going to Exponential. I mean, for real. Like
Yeah. Yes.
there are places where the young up and coming church planters, potential church planters, the high capacity young leaders that we're all looking for, they're going places and they're aggregating somewhere. Um, so I would do the due diligence and the research to say, well, where are they going? Who knows where they're going? Should I ask them? So the fact that somebody's already tuning into this podcast is an indicator that they're already interested. They're
Mhm.
already leaning into that. The other thing would be, okay, then you have to show up where they're going.
Mhm.
You have to show up and then be in the mix, have proximity, figure out ways to convene them. And we don't have time to go into the really practical side of that, but I
Yeah.
would say this, there are things you can do both locally and regionally, nationally for that matter, but especially locally,
Mhm.
where you have the ability to start to convene them in your area.
That's
And
right.
everybody says, "Well, I don't know where to start, Brad." Okay, well just start with the people that are in your church
Yeah.
or start with the people that are in your community.
Mhm.
And now what you're not going to do to start with is go, "Hey, we're going to have a church planter assessment gathering," because nobody's going to come to that.
Yeah.
They don't even know that it's a possibility. But if you said, "Hey, for the city that I'm in, I just want to gather young leaders, period,
Mhm.
under the age of 35. We're gonna do a lunch for them, and we're gonna have some Q&A with the local head coach of the high school football team about leadership and influence." I'm making this up, but you get where
Yeah.
I'm going.
Yeah. Yep.
Your ability to convene is a huge part of this. Um,
Mhm.
and then what you want to start doing is building a culture. And this is good news, by the way, because you and I both see it. The the churches that are growing, having influence, and not just largest churches in America, but a lot of them are large.
Mhm.
They're now creating residency
Yep.
programs. What they're doing is they're actually creating a pipeline of talent.
That's
And
right.
that's all the way from high school, in
Mhm.
fact, in middle school now.
That's
Middle
right.
school, high school, college, post-college, residency,
Mhm.
and your ability now to do that and say, we're going to grow talent.
Yep.
This is in vogue, but it's also closer than you think it is for you to implement this.
That's right.
Where the old days it was sort of like a pretty big challenge.
Yeah.
For example, to have your own school.
Mhm.
Now hundreds of churches have their own college.
Yep.
because it's just easier for us to aggregate those kind of things. So those are a few things. What would you
Yeah,
add?
that's good. Well, you just hit on something that I'm pretty passionate about, the pathway pipeline conversation. So I'm working with 14 other organizations. We've created like a collaborative roundtable to figure out how do we serve every church in the United States of America in a way that we can hand over a toolkit, a playbook, um, that ultimately they can take and implement any kind, a pipeline or a pathway within their own church, whether it's a church of 20 or a church of 2,000 or a church of 20,000.
Yep.
So I'm really passionate about that. And we really are, we're in the middle of creating a tool that will be distributed, for anybody and anybody who wants to utilize it. It'd give us about a year. We're in 2025, so look for it in 2026. But the whole purpose is to create something that we can put in the hands of the average senior leadership team who doesn't have the capacity or the time necessarily or the staff to produce something like a pathway or a pipeline. And we're going to hand you a playbook then that just says, here's how you do it. Here's what you do. We're going to handle some of the heavy lifting for you. And here's the relational components. Here are the feet on the ground. Um, put young people in places where they're serving, where they're exploring, where they're working, not just bringing coffee or setting tables, but actually
Yeah.
using their gifts. Yeah, so I'm pretty passionate about that. And I would say, um, if you're looking for a place to really start right now, find 5 young people and get them around you. Start inviting them to your house for
Very,
dinner
that's good.
and just start listening to them and
Yes.
investing in them. And then watch that 5 grow into 10, and then that could grow into 15. And then you just have this revolving door of people that you're getting close to, that you're investing in. And you're going to begin to see, who are the people that man, they have, I see this in them, that I see in you conversation that Dave
Mm,
Ferguson started, right? The I see in you conversation. Um, and that's, I mean, it's really going to be through relationship. I mean, I really think genuinely we've kind of gotten a little off course on so many programs and systems and all the things. They're important. I believe in them.
yeah.
I build great systems. I love them. They matter. But systems without relationships, it's going to get us nowhere. And so it's the relational component. It's the get into their lives, get a little messy with them, get
Yes.
into the
And
mess with them.
I love that. And do a project together. You know,
Oh
the
yeah,
the
yes,
ability to do something together,
yes,
it is the best way, I think, in terms of mentoring. The old days of
mhm,
mentoring was that I was going to show up and get my moleskin out and listen to you opine.
yeah,
I'm not saying that that doesn't work anymore, but I think it's more powerful if you do that in combination with, well, let's also go make a difference together.
yes,
So you got to go with them. You have to take them with you.
yes,
You have to show up where they are. I mean, it's a
right.
lot of this is it's a different mindset for senior leaders to think, are they going to, we're just going to create an environment and they're going to show up.
Mhm.
Maybe, but not all of us are going to be able to run that play anymore.
That's right.
But you can find them because they're every city in America, every community, every small town in America, there's some kind of high school. There's some kind of like of, where 20 somethings are showing up and hanging out. So
Yeah.
that you can't use the excuse though of, well, we Brad, we did a Thursday night get together at the church and free food. Well, okay. Did it work? Well, we had 7 people. Okay. Well, and how many times did you do it? We just tried it once because,
Hmm.
and then, we didn't want to put any more energy into it. And I think that's the story of so many is they had a good idea. They tried it. It didn't work. And now we sort of all can validate together that they just don't want to be part of this.
Yeah. Listen, I hear 7 people and I get excited.
Well, exactly. That's my point too.
I mean, I'm
Let's
like,
start with 7.
7 people, like,
Yes.
like helping those 7 people understand, who they are and what they're wired for, giving them opportunity to work alongside you. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest difference between probably our experience, Brad, and then the experience I see so many young people having. They are lacking the experiential side of things. I
Yes.
mean, I was put in places and spaces where I was, preaching in prisons and in
Yeah.
Russia. And I mean, like crazy places that, the adults around me, I say adults, I was 20 something, but, the
Yeah.
older people around me were inviting me into that helped me discover, man, I like this. I don't like this. I'm good at this. Oh, I'm not good at that. And I had to discover that for myself. I didn't need somebody just telling me. I think I seen you as great. Tell me all day long what I'm good at, but then allow me to figure it out for myself along the way too, you know?
Yes. And this is why what the work that Exponential is doing is so important around this issue of church planting multiplication.
Mhm.
The average young high capacity leader, and I'm saying average, I'm doing a sweeping statement here. So don't get mad at me, all of you senior pastors. Most of them don't want to come work for you.
Yeah.
They will partner with you,
Hmm.
but they don't want to come work with you because whether you're saying it or not, there is an implied perspective that says, I'm going to have to wait,
Hmm.
a decade, right? And
Hmm.
and nothing wrong with waiting again, but so many
Hmm.
of them are saying, I want in the game now. So part of our job as a senior leader is to now say, well, we're going to invest in you to go launch something.
Yep.
And this is the reason why, again, this is so important is because that's actually good strategy these days.
Hmm.
So even if they don't come under your banner,
Hmm.
this is still part of, I think, all of our stewardship of saying, well, how do we really like invest in the next generation? It's a
Yeah.
different way to think, though, compared to they're just going to show up and they're all going to be part of my team.
Yeah. You've got to think kingdom, not castle.
There you
That's
go.
what we would use around
Yes.
exponential world. You've got to think kingdom, not castle. We're not building castles or our castle. We're building the kingdom. And in order to do that, we come alongside others. They don't come up into what I'm trying to get done, I mean, and maybe there will be some of that. Sure, great. But for the most part, you're going to come alongside. Um, well, Brad,
Yes.
is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, I think that the thing for so many of us who are, again, who are seasoned, older,
Hmm.
wiser, we've got more years, we're running organizations, we're sitting in the places of authority, power, use all those analogies.
Hmm.
Part of our stewardship is that we have to run a play that was not run for us. And that's hard because now we feel like in some ways we're cutting off the legacy that so many of us were part of. But I think again the premise has to go back to, well, not just be the leader you wish you had, but also be the champion, Carrie, or your words of be willing to build the kingdom and not just your castle. And that's a different kind of influence
Hmm.
that we all have to lean into. Not because it's timely and sexy and has sizzle on it, but I
Hmm.
think because that's the reality we're currently in. And you know, here's the good news of that though. You don't have to be the most well-known, the most influential. You don't have the most followers. You don't have to be the biggest church to actually do that really well.
That's
And
right.
so that's good news. I mean, I
That's great.
celebrate that, and I actually am leaning into that more and more. Of part of my job is just raise up. For me and you both, we're talent scouts.
Hmm.
We're finding talent that is behind us.
Yep.
We're saying I'm going to use everything in my power, all my network, my influence, my connections, my resources, and I'm going to elevate you way beyond wherever I was able to go.
Yeah.
So that's just an encouragement, but it's best practice it today.
Hmm.
And if I think if we do that, the question of how do I get these young leaders to actually come alongside me? They'll start knocking on your door
Yeah.
and you won't even know where they're coming from.
Yeah. That's good, Brad. Well, this has been fun. I could talk to you
Always.
for hours. Yeah, always, always. Guys, like I said, check out check out Brad's World. What's the best way? You website, find you on Insta. Like, what's the best way to connect with you or to
I'm
like peek
well,
into
I'm
Brad's world?
The best way is the podcast because
Yeah.
my website is really old and not good.
I know. I went to it this week and I was like,
No, it's
Brad,
terrible.
what are we
It's
doing?
terrible. It needs an upgrade. And my Instagram, I don't really post much at all.
Okay.
I'm a terrible follow on all the social media because I don't really pay attention.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think the
Okay.
podcast,
Yeah.
H3
Good.
Leadership, h3leadership.com. That's the website. So the podcast is the easiest
Yeah.
way, best way.
And we'll include that in the show notes. So you don't need to get a pen out and try to remember or write that down. You can look in the show notes and we'll have that link right there
I
in the
wish
show.
I had a new book. I had one due 7 years ago. So I'm a little behind.
Let me just say though, um, look up Brad's books. Like what's the very last book that you wrote?
H3 Leadership. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was 2016. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
coming up on 9 years, almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Maybe you need to do a revision of it.
Revision or the book I
Mm.
really want to write is around connection. So,
Okay.
and
Get after it.
you'll be in it, one of the chapters. I'll
You
be
need to get
interviewing you.
after it. You need to get
I
after it, Brad.
thank you.
I'm gonna hold
Yes.
you to that.
My literary agent is also saying the same thing.
All right, Brad, thank you so much for being with us. And thank you guys for tuning in to this episode in the series called A Call Generation. Check out all the things within Exponential, Exponential Next. We are here to serve you. That's the whole purpose that we exist. It is here to serve you, church leaders, leaders in ministry, leaders who don't even know yet that they're called to be a minister of the gospel in whatever context God has you in. Brad, thank you so much for joining us.
Loved it. Thanks,
Yep,
Carrie.
it was fun. Thanks so much.